A question of school uniforms on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Friday, February 10th, 2012. I'm Sarah Colvin. The Town of Barnstable Growth Management Department is accepting applications for use of Community Development Block Grant funds for housing and community development projects. Specific criteria and objectives and outcomes are required, such as providing affordable housing and/or creating economic activities and sustainable living environments. Applications and guidelines are available on the town's website or in the Growth Management Department. Applications are due on February 17th by 4 p.m. An estimated $350,000 is available for project funding provided by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. A new idea posted on BarnstableIForum.com suggests school uniforms for Barnstable students and teachers. I spoke with Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mary Chakowski, about this topic for our weekly Barnstable iForum segment. Good morning and welcome to our weekly Barnstable iForum segment, where we take some comments and questions that have been raised on our new online forum and talk with various town officials today. And as you can see, I'm joined today by our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mary Chakowski. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Great.
It's nice to welcome you into the studio. Of course, we talk to you every Monday via phone, and it's nice to have you here live and in person.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Well, one of the ideas that was put forth, we have, of course, as our viewers know, a slew of brand new questions and topics that are up there on our iForum. One of which is kind of looking at ways to promote a safe, healthy, and drug-free community. And one of the ideas posed was school uniforms. And I know this is something that's been discussed by a lot of people. I've heard a lot of pros and cons. So talk to me a little bit. When you did see this idea pop up, and I know it's come up in conversation, what are your thoughts on school uniforms?
Well, first, I was quite surprised that it came up, and not only did it come up from the student's perspective, but also teacher. It was a student and teacher dress code, which I thought was interesting. So I think it's a topic that many schools are grappling with. As I talk with other superintendents around the state, principals, you know, the idea or the concept of a school uniform is one that continually is brought up. One of the, I think, challenges that it comes with, obviously, is cost to parents. But I look at the cost of clothes.
Exactly.
And the cost of the latest and the greatest, whatever is in. So, you know, I don't know that that's such a valid argument. Another argument I hear is about students losing their individuality in their inability to express themselves through their clothing. But then I hear parents say, what a great idea, because I don't have to then spend 5, 10, 15 minutes arguing with my child in the morning about what they're going to wear, or, you know, they came home and they don't have a certain outfit because their friend has a certain outfit and they want a certain. So, you know, there's some challenges, I think, on both sides.
Indeed, and it really is interesting, especially, I mean, you're talking about individuality, of course, and, you know, people do use their clothes, even when they're teenagers, and even when you're adults, to express yourself. But also, I think by wearing a uniform, it might kind of people find a different way of expressing themselves, maybe not with their outward appearance, but with their personality itself. So that could be an interesting experiment if that was the case.
Absolutely. You know, interestingly enough, I was just talking with a Barnstable High School student prior to our segment here this morning, and the student says to me, and I just sort of threw the idea out, what do you think? And the student says that students in the hallway spend so much time talking about what other students are wearing that it might be a better idea to talk about other educational issues, which I thought was interesting from a student's perspective. But there is a lot of conversation about what students wear, and I think sometimes, you know, students maybe that can't afford certain types of clothing. You know, the cost of sneakers today is very expensive. That I think sometimes they feel intimidated, feel less than. And, you know, from a parent's perspective, I discussed this at one of the superintendent house calls that I did last week with a group of parents in Hyannis, and they thought, you know, a school uniform would encourage respect for themselves, respect for others. We talked about some of the private schools and the academies here in Barnstable that have a school uniform, and how it takes on a different connotation, a different tone within the school.
And I think these days, too, there's a wide variety of uniform options available. It's not the traditional plaid skirt, dress slacks, white shirt, or even a jumper. I think there's a wide variety of uniform options available, so you could make it a little more enticing for the students, perhaps to make them a little more excited if that were the route that you were to go.
Absolutely. And I think, you look, I know a lot of schools sometimes they're doing fundraisers, so on Friday they might have hat day or scarf day, and so you could sort of add to your attire and sort of spruce it up a little bit and have some fun with that. But that standardization of uniform, I think, does garner some sort of respect and structure to the school, and it treats everybody the same. Everybody's on the same level playing field.
Indeed. So would this be something you might consider in the future for the Barnstable school system? I mean, obviously, I think it would take a long time and a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings, a lot of public input before such a drastic change were to be made. And I'm thinking back, I don't think really any public school on the Cape does have a uniform policy. Obviously, there's dress codes within the schools, but would it be something that you may consider down the road?
Well, what I'd like to do is sort of put it out there on the Barnstable iForum as a topic, see what kind of questions and feedback we get. I think, if we were to pilot it maybe with one school, we'd start maybe with an elementary school, see how parents feel about that, see how maybe run it by a student council, run it by a school council with parents, maybe do a survey with students to talk about the pros and cons of it. I think with any kind of initiative, any kind of change like that, you want to start small. It wouldn't be a widespread change. But it certainly, I think, is going to garner some discussion and good discussion among both students, staff, and parents, and probably the community as well.
Indeed. And now, of course, this particular idea that we're talking about when we're looking at the iForum was posted under the question looking for input on how to promote a healthy, safe, and drug-free environment. Do you think that uniforms could help prevent drug use within our students? Do you think it might be able to go that far?
That's a great question. I think it could. There would probably have to be some research done on whether, and as part of this initiative around uniforms, I may be looking to Google some articles around, has it made an impact? Have other schools seen any decrease in drug use by the mere fact of having a school uniform? I think it's a great question. It's something that we should look into.
Indeed, and definitely I think I'll look at other schools and see if have you implemented a uniform policy, what has it affected? Has it affected study habits? Has it affected social issues? Has it affected creativity? And has it affected that drugs? All sorts of different things to consider.
And I was talking the other night with a parent who suggested that I contact, I think it's Pope John, that has the principal there that implemented uniforms. I'm going to probably schedule a time to sit down with him and see the impact when they transitioned into uniforms. And has he seen a decrease in behavior, inappropriate behavior, a decrease in drug use, more of a respect for themselves and for others? Those are, questions, and I think we have some resources right here on the Cape that I can do that.
Sure, and really showing that the ideas, questions, topics that are posted by you, the iForum users, really are being considered and coming to the ears of our town officials. And I know we recently concluded a poll with the school department in terms of when people want to start school. And I understand you have made a decision on when you'd like school to start. And I want to know how much the input that iForum had came into play when making that decision.
Well, it's certainly, not only did I get the iForum input, but I also got staff survey input. And I have to say that we had about 59 poll voters taken on the iForum, and I think that the majority of them wanted the after school Labor Day start, and I think it's certainly something I took into consideration.
Interesting. Well, Dr. Chakowski, thank you so much for joining me today on our iForum segment. It was great talking with you, and I know we'll be joined by you again Monday morning.
Great. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you so much. And we'll be right back with some of the latest statistics and numbers and more information about those brand new topics on Barnstable iForum. If you would like to participate, log on to barnstableiforum.com. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.